So we have another question. This question says, is consolidating debit a good option for someone who has maybe taken on too much debt? Would this help lower the amount of money one pays back in interest?
So another good question, and I'll share with you that debt consolidation more often than not is beneficial for someone to consider if they feel as though they've taken on too much debt. So what do I mean by in most scenarios or more often than not? So in most scenarios, you would be consolidating what would be let's just give an example of, 3 credit cards that are maxed out at $3,000 each. That's $9,000 total. And let's say that one of the credit cards was at 29%, one was at 26%, and the other was at 21%. You're obviously, making your on-time payments, but you're not seeing your balance move, so you may consider debt consolidation. In these scenarios, typically someone may consider using a home equity loan or line of credit to consolidate their debt, or an unsecured personal loan to consolidate their debt. In this scenario, let's just say we're using an unsecured personal loan. That personal loan may have an interest rate of 5 or 6%, in which scenario all of your credit cards are being paid off and you're paying now one payment at 5 or 6% to that personal loan that is termed for 5 years. In that scenario, I think everyone could kind of see the win there. There's, from going from a 29, 26, and 21% to going to, 5 or 6%, where it's termed. In that scenario, you're kind of winning. Or you are winning. You've consolidated your debt. You don't have to worry about making those 3 different payments. Now you're making one payment at a much lower interest rate. So you're paying less towards interest, and you're probably feeling, a little bit of breathing room. In the scenario where you may not, or it may not seem like you're winning, is if you happen to take on a loan where the interest rate is, let's say, 30%. You're taking on a personal loan where you're consolidating all 3 debts, where it kind of looks like, hey, I'm paying off all of my debts. But in reality, if you're paying more towards interest, you're going to be paying more towards that loan. So does that make sense for you? In that scenario, some people or an individual may say, wow, or look back at it and think, I'm paying more towards interest than I was on those 3 different credit cards, even though they are paid off. The other line item to consider is once you've consolidated those debts, and I think just as a best practice with debt consolidation, you have to be honest with yourself. Are you going to be using those credit cards again after you've consolidated those debts? I think being honest with yourself, being disciplined, to say, I'm not going to use these credit cards after I've, consolidated this debt, or I'm going to restrict usage to, only this amount because I know I can pay it off on a monthly basis. Those are line items to consider, I think, when you're talking debt consolidation. But I will share with you that generally speaking, it's a fantastic win if you feel like you've taken on too much debt.